So first the secularism argument?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
and stuff.
And then it's going to be case, framework, cap, and
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
try.
I'm
I'm terrible drawing.
It's all right. I don't care about catching too, so it'd be a bad situation overall. I'm good.
all right. You ready? First, in education, we don't destroy all education. All their education is refusal to engage the divinity. The one who seeks the open the secular. A person destroys everything for interest in modernity of the sovereign. The sovereign education that actively excludes certain discussions. Meaningless education must be embodied in order to become useful words. Happiness. Morgan. Seven education consists of setting examinations, teaching skills for the future employment. All these are important. They are not an application as to research meaning that fulfillment system which ignores and inevitably impoverishes the individual size. Impoverishes visible in a society. Time for public debate on the meaning of education. Christian education outline proposing a tradition which is outlined on the prize and can be critically verified by the people. Educators value for human perception today. I talked about this is a reason before, but first of all, we do not exclude anyone for debate or talking about discussion. I will get into this on cases as well, but we said that everyone should be included in this discussion. Them bringing a card in that talks about that Christ said that that he was talking to other people. That is just another reason why we're able to solve this. Part of our argument is that yes, we include others into this into what we're trying to do, and we can affirm life through helping everyone.
Also, that evidence they read assumes doing that through a Christian standpoint.
Also, that evidence assumes doing it through a Christian standpoint.
Even though it's Christ doing it.
Even though it's Christ doing it. On case. First of all, the rule about it is who best performantly methodologically disrupts the cultural fear, and we do that best by affirming life. And this debate is insulated on this roundsman on no risk to spill over, and they can see that we can transcend the metaphysical institutions of death and suffering. Probably means that there's zero risk of the impacts, and also means there's no reason to make at this point in the church community the fidelity of the narrative the Christ event is a rhizomatic body difference, and most pragmatic example of self-reflexive political identity built in the church, not a single form of life, but a multiplicity of Eucharist, such as first like a network, a rhizomatic across social body, those with authority in the church, and not only agents of memory, but agents of communion, assisting the articulation, covenants, and merging many forms of life of the rhizomatic body of Christ in the church, governance way of the pagan institution, knowledge, and arts can be useful, even aiding in the culture, scripture, and the mention obviously presents the church is not inclusive, confident, the movement of the level of the upper list of recognition, the mixed nature of the church and the city, sort of the birth of the verse coaches are not, and knowledge that the theological wisdom takes as long as it appears to be suspended from the heaven, where the borders of stone, the temporal spaces are not outside, no outside borders, we were preemptively excluded from the conversation of contributing to the form of the church's common life, and this card can apply to education. Now, we include all types of people, and this is a good form of education for all people, and helps create change.
On the slavery arguments, we're an affirmation of life.
On the slavery arguments, we are an affirmation of life.
That probably isn't, which means that sort of institution wouldn't be in the world.
Probably means that type of institution would not exist. They say, I know the gospel, we're not putting, this is God, that's probably the reason why we're bringing this in the debate, so we can use this as a way of seeing our type of religion there, not putting anything forward. They say, remember the Sabbath.
We also don't defend God as real. So
We also don't defend God as real, just narrative of Christ is a better point for politics. They say,
which means that the Ten Commandments don't really apply.
Which means the Ten Commandments don't apply. Yeah, let's see. They put no impact on these, or how it turns any of our arguments. So you're going to give way to the act that we can affirm life in this better point is obviously on the framework. We mean closely the person cannot exercise his war powers in counter-interpretation discussion. The topics opposed as topical discussion, or topical to reason, still negative action. The same we affirm the politics of being of life contoured by the narrative of Christ, and affirm the narrative of Christ needs to be permeate social political space in order to move meaning with those spaces in a sense the ethical parameter is necessary to create a substantial change in sequence. Debate is about a discussion of political efficacy. Ours is the only strategy that creates a change in abstraction. Term lines in the United States federal government sub practice from redeeming power to the old the nerve counters dominate the discourse for the manifest power with expertism, and they don't have links to the framework standards. We don't destroy ground predictably or fitness. Our entire one is about whether war power is bad and predictably at the heart of the topic. The next topic is any ground about why war power is a good impact on security framing, and any critique that uses a competing methodology and research and education prescribed by the parameters that's evident by the 200 headshots every utilizing framework is as a policy maintenance reflects our refusal to research theological specific education with the topic turns their impact leads or worse based on policy and no impact to your office turn. We don't want to be policy makers also the will powers precondition for virtuous violence historical leading crusades, and we don't destroy all resolution discussion from happening. That education and now when we are winning uniqueness we learn from education that can consist in the current system of voting that doesn't resolve your offense. Other K teams will still read their apps. Every K loss proves They destroy education. The plan is prerequisite to effective current politics. And this securitized debate, the framework and facts based on the desire to control and manage the base space, the political efforts that excludes these deemed dangerous. Otherwise, debate is going to collapse just because we don't plain text. The only function of frameworks is silence, exclude alternative perspective. There's no topical version of the outline. I want to see is criticism of current political discourse and structures, or current debate practice focused on narrative epistemology. Excludes alternative perspectives and performance. The securitization debate needs to be rejected a little away to the political process of democracy. You can imagine as an isolated social, economic, cultural fears that may favor one decision, other disciplinary areas of the arts and social sciences be the part of political inquiry, debate, democratic theories, never purely political. Political reform, decision in the law, what is required of time containing satisfaction different modes of theoretical inquiry, motives, practices of the experience, political theory needs to be grounded with different forms, expression, argumentation, mode of political thinking, and applies reconfiguration, political theory, alternative epistemology, rather, trying to commit the theme and the film that filters through the established modes of civil, and the concept of political theory is just following the filter, epistemology, challenges of the portions, and the conceptual influence of it, and the contemporary democratic policy, and an ethical obligation to embrace counter, and the counter uncertainty in relation to debate and politics destroys the paradigm of inclusion and exclusion as a way to break down the current norms in the debate space, and that framework relies on the idea of mastering and exerting sovereign power over the action pure 97 and ethical practice ceases to oppose ethical ethics and running the violence of representation by analogy committed to respect alternative to the imposed order and ethics and politics except uncertainty would encourage and counter rather than the mastery of transform spaces inclusion and exclusion that constitute people those in depending on which place and person must be endlessly negotiated and therefore and like our
just go to the Kavanaugh.
and they can see the Kavanaugh evidence that says the state only exists because we imagine it to. We think that this is a problematic, therefore reaffirming its sovereignty and intellectual resistance is key to unworking the historical relationship.
Just go to the last card and then move on.
And role-playing as policymakers creates a right-to-way truth that supports existing power structures, excludes opposing views as apolitical, and in terms of role-playing, good claim Smith, 97, the academics who get involved in talking truth and power must accept them in doing the message of adopt the agenda of those who they are talking. Why should academics take policy agenda of the government is the starting point? Why do privilege the starting point rather than these? And what's have nots in our starting as being truth, the power itself is a very political act, the great form of isolation and self-righteousness to accept the policymakers' view. The little starting point so that the academics see as policymakers see fit on where the people question the gender, femininity, racism fit into the worldview, and the danger must be telling the powerful when they only can or working within the worldview and the academics has spent much time in trying to avoid these dangers and on the cap. First of all, capitalism is inherently securitized minds and securitizing itself versus the other, which means that the security politics of death is the reason for capitalism. When we resolve the fear, there's no need for capitalism. Plenty of examples of Christians giving up the possessions to help others or perm to the plan. The superabundant gift of grace provided with the narrative of Christ. The existing paradigmatic opposition to the economic structural logic of the capitalism and fear and the gift of Christ opposed to radically communitarian ethic that refuses to dance with variable capital about 07 in the post-gospel proclamation of the free gift of the exploded calculus, the debt and reach and says in economic circulation and share the recovery of life and the motive of nation, generosity in Christ. We share abundant life in the mortal and the ceaseless giving and receiving the life. And in Christ, the path open beyond the engage of capitalism. The only way to defeat capitalism and embrace the gift. And in Christ, wishes to run the grace of that. We pass in our lives with academic order, the love, so we're positive by love. We're able to give ourselves without loss. Capitalism defeat the fear that cast out the fear of my neighbor. The capitals be to possess and acquire more. Capitals with the fear I'm giving. I can only lose the fear that death and the cross is the end of every sacrifice. And their link card is that Christ said that we should give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. I don't think this answers what we say we should do, which is affirming life, right? Like we said, we don't exactly defend the Bible. We just say that affirming life, Christ's resurrection is key to solving for change. There's not really a link. And queer theory. We deconstruct the notion of I and the self. We die to ourselves in order for the other. There's no such thing as the other because it only forms as the self and perm to both Christ's work of atonement via the empty grave provides an ethic of hope through his transcendent and overall temporal suffering to death. The ethic is postulated in the future power, rather victory over death as such. Bell 07 and the did not hope for the object of the theory and St. Paul understood hope as part of the subjective victory. This is say hope does not find its orientation looking forward, but looking forward looking backwards. Hope is a product of considering the event of the fidelity, the space gap between the event and the present. There is no sense, no hope for the future, no expectation of peace and cessation of struggle. Hope is singular, aleatory victory, the permeation, revolution, born in the immortality, ability to sustain differences of death and turn. Queer theory's overemphasis on denatural pits itself against sexual identities, giving a no epistemological foundation for critical legitimacy. Green 02 and queer theory is a less formal theory of false value propositions somewhat loose bound in the critical standpoint of queer theory and embraces social constructs project scholar shows that scientific basis sexual identity reduce sexual classification discourse queer theory subject to the use of sexual classification union on analysis of the epistemological political grounds called Christian study homosexual lesbian and gay identities and communications deconstruct unified concept of sexual identity subject to the religion and the classification of sexual orientation because queer theory against supporting units and lesbian gay studies the gender sexual identification only promote and then ensures the compromise of males home preparation there's over the myth earlier psychological separation categories sexual equals elders simplify the beast you see the ability to tell that any form of sexual identification is region and the reason sexuality means is compulsory performance sex then maybe only through the performance of the binary cisgender binary system of sex have come to tell us really at all and cut it at all and no link
we're not a future we're not
no link we're not a future.
We're not attempting to securitize the future.
We're not attempting to securitize the future. And no internal like reproduction downside is found by heterosexual norms that marginalized percent queer identities, practices, brings men. Two innovation is crucial step comes and understanding the gay and lesbian community is emerging with this sort of the society's citizens who are stigmatized.
Marcus.
Okay. What does it mean that you deconstruct the notion of I and self?
Yeah, we say that the I is only present insofar as that is something that motivates the politics of fear, right? So what we're saying is that things like capitalism, things like securitization only exist because we fear that we are going to, be harmed or die, right? The narrative of Christ is something that deconstructs the notion of I. We say that we die to ourselves in order to
Okay.
affirm a more communitarian ethic. Sure.
Framework, how do war powers get restricted post-planning?
There's no reason for war powers after.
Okay, so Christianity has been a dominant institution for 2,000 years, or at least 1,000 years, we should say. And probably the height of American militarism through the 50s and 60s and 70s, it was dominant in the United States, as well as the peak of American capitalism. Why do you garner any kind of solvency with
Sure.
this single round?
Because we agree that those notions are problematic, right? That's Christianity done wrong. We're saying that modernity was something that probably messed up Christianity a lot, right? This is why radical orthodoxy is something that's pre-modernity. We think that that sort of thinking is probably pretty good. We look to the early Roman Church as the example, right? We look to those sorts of institutions rather than, things that modernity messed up, like reasons why we securitize, reason that we
Okay,
think militarization
so
is
you
important.
look toward those institutions like the church, how does that have any kind of effect on governmental policy?
Right? You say that the state only exists because of fear. That's the Kavanaugh card in the 1AC. That talks about the propping up of the state is only existent because we fear things and find a reason to create.
So
this
what
type
does the
of
world look
system.
like post-F?
Again, we would say we can't tell you exactly what it looks like, but the best example would be the early Roman Church, right? They lived in communities that were all inclusive of all people, right? They welcomed people whether they were Christians or not. They actually did not have capitalism, which was one of the first forms
Why
of
should we
communitarian
affirm
living.
life, and what does it mean to do that?
I feel like we continue to kind of tell you what affirming life is. We're saying that if there's no, if we do not fear death, there's no reason to fear death, then all we do is help and create social change because there's no reason to fear those types of things. So any type of action we have is not based off of us and the I, but it's based on helping others just for, you think that you should help others.
Okay,
and affirm.
how does this affirmative spill out of this round to create the kind of change?
We didn't
We
defend that.
right? We don't claim that you all should adopt the narrative of Christ or something, right? That's not our mission. We're not here to
How is there a change post-F?
Sure.
We said only this round matters.
Yeah, again, it only matters insofar as that the judge adopts this as
Only-
a good idea, right? We don't,
If there's no spillover, how can you have any kind of claims to altering the global mindset or deconstructing capitalism, deconstructing the state?
yeah, we obviously don't think that the first round of JD Novice is going to somehow lead to all of a sudden us deconstructing capitalism, right? We think it's a good idea.
We're taking